Hold on.
You're listening to The Tales We Tell, a podcast about spooky stories, unsolved mysteries, and local lore. I'm your host, Hannah Parch.
And I'm Katy.
Welcome back.
It's been a week.
It's been a week. Happy Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not ready for Monday. I need another weekend after this weekend.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was single parenting this weekend. It was difficult.
Yeah.
So major shout out to all the actual single parents out there.
I know.
Big mad respect. 'Cause mine was just from Thursday through an hour ago.
Yeah. But I'm officially I'm calling this week my birthday week. I'm claiming the whole week, partially because I'm celebrating on Tuesday with some friends for dinner, and then...
Your birthday's not until, Saturday?
Saturday, yeah. So I have plans Tuesday night, and then I have plans Wednesday called getting my hair done, which I'm calling a birthday present to myself. And then Saturday, my parents are going to come down.
Saturday, my dad's coming to town.
Oh my gosh! Family reunions. I have an announcement today. I have two announcements. Well, I have one announcement. Oh, also, I thought of you when I was buying this wine. Because...
horses?
No, because it was on sale.
Yeah.
I had a rough day at work.
Thought I saw the manager special sticker.
Had a rough day. I think it was Thursday. And I was like, you know what? I know I have a little bit of box wine left. I said, I really need a red wine. And so I stopped at the Food Lion on my way home, and right as didn't even get to the wine section, and there was the shopping cart. And I was like, and there were a couple that were really good deals, but they were just it would just say red wine. And I was like, what kind of red wine? And they were just like, red wine. And I was like, okay. Anyways, my first announcement, I'm very perturbed about this. All right, remember last week we talked about the Pollock sisters?
Uh-oh.
And I was like, is the world gaslighting me because this one picture does not look like these other pictures? Okay.
They were, in fact, separate people?
They were, in fact, completely different children. And the black and white picture of the two kind of creepy dressed-alike twins, apparently is a fairly famous picture because my dad pointed this out. It was taken by Diane Arbus, and it was of twins Kathleen and Colleen Wade. And I just want for my
the happy and the sad twin?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those were okay, first of all, there's a website, and I don't necessarily want to call them out because I think they're a podcast also, but they had these pictures, and they labeled them as Jillian and Jennifer Pollock, and then the same thing with the older ones. And also, if you just Google the Pollock sisters, that black and white picture just somehow has just been associated with them, and no one is...
But really, it's Colleen and Kathleen.
Yes. Really, it's completely different twins. So, I wasn't crazy, but I did have a mistake. So...
Well,
it's...
I mean, it sounds like it might have been an inevitable mistake to make.
Not detrimental to the story.
Right.
I would have had to reverse image search that picture because the only other way to find it is when you search the Pollock sisters, it comes up. But when you search Diane Arbus twins, it also comes up. So, anyways. So thank you, Dad, for pointing that out literally the day after we published it. I don't think Instagram lets me go back and just delete pictures from a post, so it's just going to stay up, and if anyone's mad about it, we'll just point them to this episode.
I mean, you can update the caption.
Yeah, I guess I could do that. We'll see if I remember.
If you feel like it.
If I remember. Whatever. I got other stuff to do today. I got more wine to drink, more brownies to bake.
Yeah, because I'm going to probably eat that other one too, by the way.
Totally fine. I literally have another box that I bought that are like...
I'm starving.
gooier and richer.
My chef was away all weekend.
I heard. Oh, also, fun fact that is not related to anything except when we're talking about diets. I successfully made a all gluten-free meal. And
how'd it turn out?
It was delicious. Like, I doubled my recipe for this casserole, and it was amazing. I also found out that this person is gluten sensitive, but not like, I asked while we were eating, I was like, so what's the deal? Like, are you going to die if I accidentally put gluten in something? And he was like, no, I'm just sensitive to it. I just have some side effects. But I learned a lot about what gluten is in and what it's not in. And
basically anything with, like, wheat.
Yeah, and for some reason...
There's some other things, too, but, like, you know.
Yeah. I thought...
If you get vegetables and if you pick up a thing of broccoli and it's advertised as gluten-free...
Yeah.
Be like, you're dumbass. Because, yes.
Because there's no gluten in...
I just love seeing things like milk or steak or something like meat labeled as naturally gluten-free.
Duh.
Shit.
Although, to be fair, broccoli and milk were two things I had to Google to make sure they were gluten-free. Because I think I just associated gluten with carbs. Mm-hmm. And so I was surprised to learn that rice was gluten-free. That was my one thing I was, like, very concerned about.
Gluten, it's all, like, wheat-based things.
And I even made some biscuits that were gluten-free. They were the Red Lobster, cheesy, whatever. Oh my gosh, they were so good.
What kind of flour did you use? Almond flour
it came in a package.
Oh, okay.
I used the package that said gluten-free.
Yeah.
I assume it was made with, I don't know, rice flour or something.
Your door's not all the way closed.
Yeah, it does that.
Is Jarek planning on popping through it? Is that why it's propped open like that? Just to make it
think
easier
so.
for him?
It's just because all of the wood in our house has expanded, making all of our doors very hard to close.
Same. You do know that I do owe you.
Oh, gosh. No. No, you don't. You owe Jarek.
No, that was... You
owe Jarek.
He carried out the plan.
I'm giving you brownies.
I've already started planning.
Oh,
I've actually been mulling over a couple of different ideas for a while. So this is like a months-long thing, by the way.
I hate you.
It's coming. It's coming soon. Sooner than you realize.
Oh my gosh. That makes me nervous. I am a little suspicious why you could record so early today, too. So I'm like, already... Okay.
Because I didn't go to the grocery store and do all my meal prep. I should be doing that right now, but I'm not.
Well, that sort of brings me, not really, to my last announcement, which is a trigger warning. Because I did not do a nice episode for you. So, this episode contains child abuse, sexual abuse, and violence towards children.
You know I hate those especially much.
I know, they're awful. So sorry in advance. Also, which I feel like we'll just naturally get into this, but this is kind of another one where this person obviously has
serious mental issues.
Yeah, and you look at their childhood and you're like, okay, obviously you have mental issues. Again, doesn't excuse the things that they did, but
explains or helps to explain.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a picture.
I wonder what the statistics are. I think it's a pretty high correlation to adults who abuse children who are also abused as children.
Yeah.
And it's not all. Some are just messed. Some are just f***ed in the head. Because this is clearly not a Dante episode, so I'm not even going to worry about trying to censor myself.
Some kids who were abused grow up and vow to never be like that.
Yep.
And some of them just have so much trauma that, the way that they've learned to react to things is unfortunately very unhealthy.
I mean, it kind of goes to what is more nurtured, the trauma itself or the child. Yeah. You know, like, I think there is definitely, like, just this inherent inner strength that some kids are able to, like, persevere and come through their trauma on the other side. Obviously not unaffected.
Yeah.
But, you know, survive and, you know, become better and not, you know, give in to their trauma or whatever it is. Yeah. Whereas others are not as fortunate.
Yeah.
And I think there is something about, like, their own innate character, but I think it's also kind of like what is nurtured and everything. Like, yeah, you might have gone through something traumatic, but maybe you're able to escape it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then be nurtured in a positive way.
Yeah.
And not let that impact your adulthood. But anyway.
Okay. So, Mary Bell, which is this person here.
So cute.
Was born May 26th, 1957 in Corbridge, Northumberland, to parents Elizabeth McCricket and William Bell. This is another picture of her. Her mother was known as Betty, and she was a local and well-known sex worker who specifically did work as a dominatrix, which, if you don't know what that is, just Google it. And she was only, I saw 2 different ages. She was between 16 and 17 when she gave birth to Mary. And by all accounts, she was a pretty terrible mother. So she would frequently leave town for work, and she would leave her children, because Mary was not her only child. She would leave her children with their father, Billy, who was a violent alcoholic and also a criminal. And so it's unclear if Billy was Mary's biological father, but she and her siblings were instructed to call him Uncle so that Betty could collect government assistance for being a single mom. See, it ties into your weekend.
Yeah. Me being a single mom and a dominatrix, you know it.
You know, I knew lots of things in common.
Jeez.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm not hating on the lifestyle at all.
No, it's okay. We're gonna laugh our way through this one, but out of necessity. Okay, so Mary was unwanted from the time of her birth. Her mom didn't even want to hold her after she was born. And then as she grew up, she frequently suffered from household, quote, accidents while she was alone with her mother. For example, when she was 2 or 3, she fell out of a first floor window.
What years was this again?
She was born in 57, so it was like...
When did social services exist?
That's a great question, and I don't know. I probably could go back to that awful Fred Ward case, but I don't want to. Mm-hmm. And for the sake of the story, there is no social services. There's government assistance, though.
Well, hallelujah for that.
There's another occasion where Mary inexplicably ingested large amounts of sleeping pills. And at this point, her family began to suspect that Betty might be intentionally trying to harm or kill her child. Or at the very least, they started noticing that she was super neglectful and not fit for motherhood.
No, that is shocking and devastating news. However, did they come to such a hypothesis? What on earth could maybe hint at such a truth?
Such a truth. That was good. There was one time when Betty tried to sell Mary to a mentally unstable woman who had tried and failed to adopt. Presumably there were good reasons that she was unable to adopt. And Mary's older sister...
Could it be that she was mentally unwell?
Possibly. And that she would buy a child from someone. Mary's older sister, Catherine, had to go across town by herself to get Mary back, which I would argue was a big mistake. I feel like Mary probably would have been better off with the other woman.
I don't know. The better the devil you know than the devil you don't, right?
I mean, at least this woman wanted children.
That's true.
I don't know. After this, Betty refused to give up custody of Mary, even though family members were, offering to take her. And sometime around the mid-60s, Betty allegedly started sexually abusing Mary by forcing her to participate in sadomasochistic sessions with her clients. So Mary would have been 8 or 9, but Mary would later claim that this abuse started when she was as young as 4, but that is uncorroborated by anyone else. Which doesn't mean anything because, like, I don't know. If she says it started when she was 4, but family members are like, oh, she didn't say anything until she was 8 or 9. Yeah, probably because 4-year-olds don't have, like...
She probably didn't understand what was happening.
Yeah, and 4 and 5-year-olds don't have the language to, like, explain that to you. And then when she was 5, this is just kind of out of nowhere, but another traumatic thing that happened to her. She witnessed one of her friends being run over by a bus. Which, not sorry. Yeah, great. I am sorry. I was meaning to say not great. Sorry. not sorry.
Not sorry. It's great. Okay, Betty.
Sorry. Okay, so possibly to no one's surprise, Mary was not a normally functioning child.
You mean she wasn't well adjusted?
She was not very well adjusted, actually.
I'm shocked.
Shocker. She showed signs of disturbed and unpredictable behavior, such as mood swings, bedwetting, and frequent episodes of physical violence towards peers. Specifically, she liked to try and strangle her quote-unquote friends or peers, and there was one incident where she stuffed sand down a girl's throat, trying to, I guess, strangle her or
shut her up.
Yeah. I don't know. According to one of her classmates, they had all become accustomed to her sudden mood swings, and so they would know when she was about to, like, go off. So she would start shaking her head, and she would...
And everyone would run and hide.
I know, right? And then the quote, forming a steely gaze, which I feel like just means she started shaking her head and was, like, looking at someone, and probably every look she gave was terrifying. And her classmates would know that she was about to become violent towards whoever she was looking at. And because of this behavior, again, probably not shocking to anyone, Mary didn't have a lot of friends. The one friend she did have was a neighborhood girl named Norma Joyce Bell. No relation to her. Bell was just a common name. And Norma was 2 years older than Mary. Later psychological evaluations would show that Norma was intellectually delayed and had a submissive personality, while Mary...
Goes well with the dominatrix.
Yeah. Mary was smart, manipulative, and very domineering. So, one thing that happened in the 1960s was a fun thing called urban renewal, which just means...
Gentrification?
Yeah. They basically forced people out of their homes so that they could tear them down and build nicer homes. But
for rich white people.
Yeah.
We want to clarify.
Yeah. But in this case, I guess they were just in the middle of it, or they ran out of money or something, because at this point in time, there were just a whole bunch of abandoned homes that were waiting to be demolished. Because it was the 60s, children would play in these abandoned homes and in these partially cleared lots.
I totally would have.
I would have too, honestly. An abandoned house seems like a great place to play as a kid. Very dangerous.
Absolutely.
But fun. And one of the spots near the railway was known as Tin Lizzie. I have no idea why it was called that. There was no explanation. And it ran parallel to St. Margaret's Road, which is just an important landmarker. So May 11th of 1968, Mary and Norma, who are BFFs, were accused of 2 different assault incidents on other children. The first one was a 3-year-old boy who told police that he had been playing with the girls on top of an old air raid shelter when one of them had pushed him off. He fell 7 feet and sustained a severe laceration to his head. And I would guess probably a concussion if you fall 7 feet and hit your head on something.
Yeah.
And you're only 3, and your head's probably not that hard. I don't know.
I forget when all of your
bones
fused, but like I think 2 years old before all of your skull bones actually finally fuse.
I just feel like if you are hitting your head hard enough from a fall to cut it,
you're also going to have
probably going to be concussed. And he was found wandering around in a daze near St. Margaret's Road. On the same day, there were parents of 3 girls that called the police to report that Mary and Norma had tried to strangle their daughters while playing in a sandbox. And so police were like, okay, you want us to question this 10 and 12-year-old, I guess. So they did. Both girls claimed, no, we found this little boy after he had fallen. And then Mary, when they confronted her about the strangulations, she was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then Nora was like, no, I'm going to throw her under the bus. She totally did that.
But figuratively.
Yeah,
that would be triggering for poor Mary, who had witnessed one of her friends be run over by a bus.
Wow, I did not even put that together. Good job.
Also, go back to Tin Lizzie real quick. What was the thing that was Tin Lizzie?
Tin Lizzie was just a place. I think it was like a partially cleared lot, or like kind of a construction site that wasn't being worked on.
Okay, because I was like, that name sounds familiar. Mm-hmm. And so I had to Google it real quick. And Tin Lizzie refers to an old race car, and in slang, it is now referred to as like a relatively cheap automobile.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, I feel like I've heard the phrase Tin Lizzie before. And there are also like restaurants, and there's like the Tin Lizzie Cantina somewhere.
Okay, look at the menu, see if it's somewhere good. So this is what Norma said.
It's in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I don't really want to go to Atlanta. Traffic's really bad there. Yeah. Can't afford to sit in traffic for several hours. Also, why is there something in Atlanta called the Tin Lizzie?
I don't know, but...
Okay, I'm lying. That actually looks really good.
Looks cute, too.
Happy hour.
Downtown ATL. They've got multiple locations.
Those are all so cute.
Look at some of these, like, tacos and, like, bowls and stuff.
Okay. Sign up for the mailing list.
Yeah.
Put my birthday in. It's coming up. Maybe I'll get something free.
Look at those tacos.
Ooh, okay. Those look really good.
Yeah.
Pick up.
Yeah. Can you deliver? JK.
Can you deliver here?
From Atlanta to Eastern North Carolina.
There you go. I'm sure it's small. Hey, with DoorDash, it's probably like $3.99 delivery fee.
Okay. So they questioned. Mary was like, hell no, I don't know what you're talking about. Meanwhile, poor Norma was like, I know exactly what you're talking about. This is what happened.
Let me tell you. Yes. So this is a quote from Norma. Mary went to one of the girls and said, what happens if you choke someone? Do they die? Then Mary put both hands around the girl's throat and squeezed. The girl started to go purple. I told Mary to stop, but she wouldn't. Then she put her hands around Pauline's throat, and she started to go purple as well. Another girl, Susan Cornish, came up, and Mary did the same thing to her.
Okay, I'm sorry, but Susan, you are the dumbest bitch.
Right? Susan, get out of here.
I mean, was it Pauline? Pauline, you're a little bit dumb. But, Susan, you are dumb, because you watched 2 girls get strangled right before you. And I'm sorry, sister, you just left your throat unprotected after saying twice what this girl was capable of. I think you wanted to get choked.
Well, and here's...
after that joke, I want to clarify that I was just joking.
I don't know. I get the impression, although it's kind of hard to tell from the pictures, I feel like Mary's like a small child. And I don't know how old these other kids are, but like... I don't know if a 10-year-old is choking you. I mean, granted, we're both grown adults. So if a 10-year-old's choking me, I'm just going to, kick him. But I don't know. I mean, all of those girls were ultimately okay. Mm-hmm. So Norma tells the police, and the police are just like, okay, well, you guys are children, so...
Just sounds like kids being kids.
Don't do it again.
We're not going to investigate the cause
Girls
anymore.
will be girls, as we all say. Yeah. Which obviously excuses everything. Mm. Also, here's a fun little note for everyone, because this is a terrible episode. Speaking of choking, and
nobody wants to hear about what you and Derek are into.
Okay, so one of my... I promise this is clean. One of my favorite, like, feel-good things to watch when I'm, like, feeling sad is a YouTube video of Anthony Porowski answering or reading thirst tweets about himself. So Anthony is from Queer Eye. He's the food person. He's also in line to be my next husband. Just throwing that out there, Anthony, if you listen. And he reads these thirst tweets about him, and he's very adorable. But he gives a good tip at the end. He starts talking about choking, and he says, if you like being choked, you should have a safe move, not a safe word, because sometimes when you're being choked, you can't talk. So just
tap the forearm.
Just tap out. Just some wise.
Unless you're also tied up and can't tap anything.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Maybe you can snap.
Establish a safe something. Again, as long as everyone's consenting adults, we support it. Also, everyone go watch that video of Anthony because it's so cute. I love him. Okay. I'm going to watch it when you leave here. And then I'm going to rewatch the...
Send me the link.
I will. And then I'm going to rewatch Chris Evans with the puppies. Yeah. And I did watch Tom Holland with the puppy. Yeah, I watched that right after you left last time. And it was adorable.
How expensive are these shoes? Go ahead, eat them. Chew on them.
So cute. Okay, you ready for no more cute stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On May 25th of 1968, so literally 2 weeks after the girls are questioned, the body of 4-year-old Martin Brown was found by 3 children in the upstairs bedroom of one of the abandoned homes on St. Margaret's. He was lying on his back with his arms above his head. There were specks of blood and foam around his mouth, but no signs of violence, and there was an empty pill bottle found nearby. A local workman, John Hall, was flagged down by the children, and when he came to the scene, he immediately began performing CPR on Martin while, presumably, he called for help. And while he's doing this, Mary and Norma appear. They get told to leave, and so they go to Martin's aunt's house. They knock on the door, and they tell her, one of your sister's kids has had an accident. This is a quote, "We think it's Martin, but we can't tell because there's blood all over him," which was not true. There was no blood. Martin could not be revived and was pronounced dead. Post-mortem was performed the next day, and they couldn't determine a cause of death, although they did rule out that he had been poisoned, so the bottle of pills didn't mean anything. And his death was ultimately ruled an accident. The next day, May 26th, was Mary's 11th birthday. So naturally, she and Norma broke into a local nursery and vandalized it for funsies. So they tore books, and they turned desks over, and they smeared paint on the walls, and they left 4 notes behind. This is when you get to look at some notes.
I gotta tell you, these episodes, now having Critter, they hit different.
Yeah, don't let Critter have any friends, please.
No, that's why we're moving up to the mountains.
Yeah, good idea. Let his friends be the animals.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you look at those. I have come up with my own translations of what I think these are trying to say, because they're written by an 11 and a 13-year-old. Do you have any guesses?
Well, some of them are hard to kind of make out, but the one that clearly got my attention right away was the "We did murder Martin."
Yes.
It looks like "drown" is under that, but then also "fuck off, you bastards."
Yeah.
All spelled wrong.
Yes.
But then the "I murder so that I may come back."
Yeah, not loving that one.
No, that one applies to things. And then the other ones are a little hard to read. What does that say? Of. Because the off.
Yeah.
Of. We murder, watch out. Does it say Fanny and faggot?
Yeah. And so I think that they are calling themselves Fanny and faggot. And so...
I bet Mary calls herself Fanny so that she can call Norma faggot.
Although, I thought in England or in, like, Great Britain, that meant, like, a cigarette. Am I wrong?
Fag is cigarette, and then I think in Australia, Fanny is vagina.
Oh, okay. Well, that's beautiful. Okay.
I'll Google clarify.
Please do. My phone history has enough going on. Okay, so to me, the first one looks like it says, "F off, we murder, watch out." And then it looks to me like they were trying to sign it, like signed Fanny and Faggot. Then there's the "We murder Martin Brown, f off, you bastards." There's the wonderful "I murder so that I may come back." That shit right in the bud. And then the long one. Okay.
Yeah, this one's hard to read.
Yeah. So to me, that looks like the letters MKEY, which I don't know what the hell they're trying to say. But then it says, "Because we murdered Martin Brown, you better look out. There are murderers about." And then to me, that last part looks like it is supposed to say, "Bye, Fanny and old faggot, you screws."
That's what it looks like to me, too. Yeah, by the way, in the UK, Fanny is bum.
Oh, okay.
And in Australia, Fanny is pussy.
Oh, okay. Well,
delightful.
Does the full word faggot mean anything in the UK? Or just fag?
I mean, fag, I think, is short for faggot, but
okay.
Fag, yeah, and cigarette. And I think that's older slang.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Oh, it originally more harmlessly meant a bundle of sticks. Oh, according to Urban Dictionary, it means a meatball.
God, I hate even just saying that word. It
tastes
bad.
I know. I feel a little bit bad.
Okay.
So police investigated the following day when the nursery employees were like, "Hey, we've been vandalized." And they looked at the notes and they were like, "It's probably a prank. Probably a distasteful prank. No need to look any further." On May 29th, so a couple days later, Mary and Norma went to Martin's house and they knocked on the door and they asked to see him. And his mom gently told them that that wasn't possible because he had died. And Mary replied, "Oh, I know he's dead. I want to see him in his coffin." I know.
Evil.
You don't want to just slap this girl across the face. So I also watched, there's a episode about this on, I think it's Deadly Women, which is a Discovery Plus, whatever, show. It wasn't a great episode, but Martin's mom was, like, in the episode, like, being interviewed. And she was like, I mean, God bless this poor woman, but she described that incident. And she said that they were just laughing and smiling, and it was, just the worst.
Just days after he was gone.
I know. Also, Mary was heard by classmates bragging about having strangled Martin, and no one really took her seriously because she bragged and lied about a lot of stuff.
Also, she was 11.
Yeah, which, I don't know, but I'm glad we're at least in an era where, like, shit like that is taken seriously. Just because the worst that can happen is you're investigating something that's not real. And, if that's the worst that can happen, if that's the cost of investigating it on the chance that you might find something that is real, I'm willing to do that.
Oh, yeah. No, I'd much rather have, like, my tax dollars wasted investigating a lead like this than them not investigate when it actually is true and this person continues murdering and hurting other children and then grows up to continue murdering and hurting other people.
Yeah. Yep.
Stop the reign of terror.
Yeah. There's a whole other, I'm watching another crime show on Netflix, and they talked about swatting. Have you heard of that? It's like when, I don't think it happens very much anymore, but it used to be a thing where, like, someone would call in, like, a fake tip and have a SWAT team go to someone's house, and it was like, oh, a huge prank.
Just to watch the SWAT team descend.
Yeah. But then, of course, there was a case where it happened to this family, and because police are not, I don't know, regulated or held accountable, someone was shot and killed because his house was being raided by the police for no reason because of a fake tip. And this person
people are all like, I have a right to defend my house. And...
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't even armed. He was literally just coming to the door, and police just shot him. Okay. Sorry, the world is awful. There's literally not a good way to do anything. Okay. Because we're like, yeah, investigate everything, except not in that way.
Investigate nicely.
Investigate responsibly. Okay. July 31st, 1968. So a couple months later. 3-year-old, I know, I'm sorry, Brian Howe was outside playing with his dog, his sister, and 2 neighborhood kids named Mary Bell and Norma Bell. I'm going to go ahead and tell you his dog is fine. Don't worry about the dog.
I'm worried about all of them.
I know, but I just needed to go ahead and say, like, the dog is fine. When he didn't return home later that afternoon, his family got worried, and they organized a search party with relatives and neighbors. Earlier in the day, his sister, Pat, had been looking for him. Mary and Norma offered to help. And while they were helping, Mary pointed towards Tin Lizzie and suggested that they should look there. But Norma insisted that they didn't. She was like, no, Brian would never go over there. Let's not look there. At 11:10 that night, Brian's body was discovered between 2 concrete blocks at Tin Lizzie. There had been, quote, a deliberate but feeble attempt to hide his body. He was covered in grass and weeds. There was discoloration around his mouth. There were bruises and scratches on his neck, and there was a pair of broken scissors found on the ground nearby. During the coroner's examination, they found multiple puncture wounds to his legs, sections of his hair cut from his head, his genitals partially mutilated, and carved into his stomach was the letter M. And they said it looked like it had originally been an N for Norma, but then someone had come and added an extra mark to make it an M. And if it makes you feel any better, I do believe that all of the mutilation stuff was post-mortem. I don't think it was done while he was alive.
Well, I'm going to tell myself that.
Yeah. This is a quote from Detective Chief Inspector James Dobson. He said, "There was a terrible playfulness about it, a terrible gentleness, if you like, and somehow the playfulness of it made it more rather than less terrifying." The cause of death was determined to be strangulation, and the time of death was between 3 and 4 p.m. They found gray and maroon fibers on the body, and they determined that those did not match any clothing at his home. So police concluded that those fibers must have come from the killer, and also due to, quote, relatively small amount of force that had been used, they believed that the murderer or murderers were likely children. And I didn't read this. I watched it on TV. They were talking on that episode of Deadly Women that something about if you're strangling someone and it's like a gradual thing, it doesn't leave as many marks. I don't know. So there's over 100 detectives assigned to the case. Police are finally stepping up. It's no longer just a prank. They questioned over 1,200 children, including Mary and Norma, because witnesses had already established that the 2 girls had been seen with Brian earlier that day.
One of whom suggested looking into that exact same spot.
Yeah. Also, I'd be like, didn't we just question these girls? Not too long ago for, a strangling incident, and now we're questioning them again? Should we maybe, keep an eye on them? So, when questioned, both girls admitted to having played with Brian, but denied seeing him later in the day. And then later in questioning, Mary claimed that she saw Brian with another neighborhood boy. She said she saw the boy hitting Brian and that he was carrying scissors and that he was covered in grass, which seems like a weird detail. And this is a quote from Mary. She said, "I saw him trying to cut a cat's tail off with the scissors, but there was something wrong with them. One leg was broken or bent." And when I read that sentence, I thought she meant the cat's leg was broken or bent.
The leg of the scissors.
The leg of the scissors. Okay. Mind you, that cat is fictional, so...
I know, but still, just the idea of it is just...
Go home and cuddle your cats and your dogs.
It makes me her brain thought of that, so maybe she might be trying to go around cutting cats' tails off with scissors.
Yeah. Police had never released information about the broken scissors to the public.
That's what my question was going to be.
Yep.
It's like, did they give any information about the scissors, or is she offering this up?
She's offering that. And also, she didn't just say, oh, I saw him with a boy. She specified. She, picked an actual neighborhood kid and was like, I saw him with that kid, and this is the kid who's doing it. Well, so, of course, they interviewed that kid, and he was like, I was at the airport, which seems like a very silly excuse. But he was literally at the airport.
I was going to say, it sounds like something that can be easily verified.
Yeah, and that was verified by multiple witnesses. So now they're like, that's
very suspicious.
A little suspicious.
At this point, had she been tied to the nursery vandalization yet?
Yes, okay. Because I actually think the day after that, so after that first vandalization, the nursery installed, security alarms, and then they broke in again, and the alarms went off, and they got caught, and they were like, oh, we were just, playing around. They were probably like, I don't know, we grew up, there's all these other houses that we can play. We just thought this was one of them. So they had been tied to that, but again, they just pushed it off as, just a silly prank. On August 4th, Norma's parents called police, and they were like, hey, our daughter wants to talk. Smart move on their part. So Norma comes in, and she tells police that Mary had taken her to see Brian's body and had shown her how she had strangled him and cut his stomach with a razor blade. And she also said that Mary had told her that she enjoyed strangling Brian. And Norma was able to show police where the razor blade was at the crime scene, and she was also able to draw a picture of where the cuts had been on Martin, which again presumably was not information that was released to the public.
On Martin?
On Brian.
Brian, yeah. I was like, ugh.
So both of that checked out. So she knows where one of the weapons is.
Yeah, she's not only has information that wasn't released, she's intimately familiar and can point out details.
Yeah. So
adding more credibility.
So the next day, early morning, the police go to Mary's house, and they don't arrest her. They just confront her, and they're like, "Hey, there's some discrepancies in your story. We just want to double check. Also, your friend Norma said some stuff." And so Mary gets really defensive. She accuses the police of trying to brainwash her. And she says she's going to get a lawyer. Which I'm like, you're 11. How are you going to get a lawyer? Your mom's 28. I had to think and do the math. 27 or 28. And your dad, who knows? Your uncle is, we don't know what.
Uncle father.
Ooh, fun. Sorry, here's another fun fact. I'm just coming up with these off the cuff. It's not fun at all. I'm so sorry. Did you know that Elon Musk's dad is having his second child with his stepdaughter?
Sounds like some Woody Allen shit.
Does it surprise you that the Musks are
a bit odd?
No. Okay.
I do have a cute segue.
Okay.
Kind of like with Uncle Father. This is a cute one.
Okay. I didn't think Uncle Father was cute. I thought we were talking about...
No, this is a cute version.
Oh, okay.
So, my friend's kids call our other friend Uncle Grandpa. They're not related in any way. It's they're best friends from high school. And I think Michael is their godfather, probably. But it's close family friends, how your Aunt Hannah to Walker.
Yeah.
He's not Uncle Michael. He's Uncle Grandpa. And I don't remember how, it got started or whatever, but, because Michael kind of, he doesn't look like a grandpa, but you can totally see him kind of going with, the, kind of crotchety, grumpy, bearded grandpa type, but, but also not crotchety or grumpy, he loves the boys and they play. I gotta ask Amanda how that came about, but yeah, no.
I love that.
Anne and Cullen call him Uncle Grandpa.
Nice. All right, I want a petition to get Walker to call Jarek either Uncle Grandpa or Funkle Jarek.
Funkle Jarrett. We can probably do Funkle Jarrett.
Funkle Jarrett would probably be easier.
But
I want to stay Aunt Hannah just because, and he will stay Critter for as long as he's alive. Sorry, as long as I'm alive, obviously. He's kind of outlived me.
Why are you doing this whole as long as he's alive? I'll tell you a story about 3 and 4-year-old boys being strangled.
I'm sorry. Drink more wine.
I need it.
Sorry. Jarek, start making more brownies. I have a cake in the fridge. The cake is for someone else. Sorry, we can't have it. Although I'm going to cut it. Okay, never mind. Okay. It doesn't get better. I don't know why I'm, like, apologizing like I'm about to tell you, like, a great thing. Okay. So, Norma is questioned again, and she admits that she was actually present for when Mary strangled Brian. This part doesn't really make any sense. She says that Mary said at one point, quote, "My hands are getting thick. Take over." And then she just left. And I don't know what. I guess maybe Brian's already dead, and then Norma just wandered off. I don't really know. Meanwhile, forensics matched the gray and maroon fibers that were found on Brian to a wool dress that Mary owned and a skirt that Norma owned. On August 7th, Brian's funeral was held, and according to DCI Dobson, Mary was standing across the street, which I don't know why at this point she's allowed to just, like, walk around. Someone should be following her. Perhaps it's this guy, DCI Dobson. He is following her. She stood across the street and she watched as his coffin was being brought out of the house. And according to Dobson, she stood there, quote, laughing and rubbing her hands. And I have a note, like a villain? Like a cartoon villain
That's
would?
What I'm picturing, like,
yeah, I'm like, what? Where does this girl get her, like, weird mannerisms from? But DCI Dobson said that at that moment he believed that she would continue killing if he didn't do something to stop her. Mm-hmm. So at 8...
I'm so sad.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm really sad.
At 8 p.m. that same day, Mary and Norma are formally charged with Brian's murder. In a written statement, Mary claims that Norma had killed Brian while she watched, although she did admit to having broken into the nursery and writing the notes about Martin. And I will say, this is one of those cases where, like, I feel like I can make it a lot longer if I wanted to, but I don't want to because it's awful.
Okay with that, yeah.
But, like, her whole statement is just, it's so weird because she's literally like, someone write down what I'm saying, and then she just starts talking like a f***ed up 11-year-old would talk, and someone wrote it down. Mm-hmm. So there's, I don't know, there's documents of, like, what her thing is. Here, hold the Beanie Baby with no eyes.
Steven. You
can grab Steven. You gotta stand for it, though. Steven, the emotional support squirrel, has entered the podcast. Okay. So they did a psych eval on both the girls, which is when they figured out that
Nora was mentally delayed.
Yeah. And Mary, they concluded, had psychopathic personality disorder. Who is shocked by that? Dr. David Westbury concluded, quote, her social techniques are primitive and take the form of automatic denial, ingratiation, manipulation, complaining, bullying, flight, or violence, which we've seen all of this. Mm-hmm. Okay. Trial begins December 5th, 1968. By this point, the police have also charged Mary and Norma with the murder of Martin Brown. They are smart enough to figure out that that was not an accident. Sorry, a dog ate 2 of his legs.
I couldn't remember what happened to his appendages, but...
We're talking about Steven the squirrel. He's missing 2. He's missing an arm and a foot. Or a hand and a foot. Mm-hmm. So, the girls, they tried to grant them anonymity, but that was denied. So, the press was allowed to publish their names and their pictures. And I don't quite get this. Maybe it's just a British thing. But the girls were tried together. Oh, no. I've seen this before. Sorry. They were tried together, but they had separate lawyers. Like, Norma's lawyer was able to be like, Norma didn't do any of this. Mary did it all. And Mary's lawyer was able to be like, no, they both did it. Or something. I don't know. The prosecution argued that the girls killed, quote, solely for the pleasure and excitement of murder. and that they knew the difference between right and wrong. Norma testified in her own defense, saying she denied participating in the actual murders, although she admitted that she and Mary had discussed attacking and killing smaller children. She also admitted that she did not try to stop Mary or alert anyone about the attacks as they were happening. To which I would say, like, fair. You're a 13-year-old who has a mental age of much younger than that, and also you're best friends with a scary child.
I mean, yeah, you are if you're a submissive personality and you're with a dominant psychopath.
Yeah.
Like, I could understand...
Yeah, fair.
Not doing it. Because, I mean, she did, like, on one hand, I'm like, I don't want to say fair. Like, I don't want to give her any credit. But, you know, you're right. She is developmentally delayed and also a child. And she did, like, after the fact, go and confess and everything.
Yeah,
like
she did.
She's possibly the reason why we're already at trial after only 2 deaths instead of several more.
True.
So.
Also, is this picture of Mary not, like, all the more terrifying now that you know that she's a little psychopath?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. She actually looks a lot...
She still looks cute there.
She does look very cute. She looks, and I do not mean this in a mean way, she looks a lot like my old roommate's little sister when she was little. She's now, like, a teenager. A cute, sweet little face, and knowing that she's...
Like, you can definitely see, like, that there's, like, maybe some evil lurking behind there, but you can probably see that about any kid. Like, if you looked at any picture of, like, a cute kid or something and then told a horrific story and been like, yeah, no, I see the evil there. Like
that psychopath.
Confused psychopath.
These are the faces he makes when I try to take pictures of him. It looks like he hates everything about me. Yeah, show us a picture of your kid.
I did see that one. Well, I mean, I just love this one that Shelton sent me.
Oh, so cute.
Here, I think I've got... Oh. This is him posing like he's, like Dionysus or something.
Yes!
He's just like a Roman or Greek god of just like, he's like leaning on one side and he's got one leg just like kind of cocked up and out to the side.
If that blanket wasn't in the way.
And then his arm is like...
You know, he looks like Adam in the Michelangelo Sistine Chapel.
It does a little bit.
Or like Buster.
Yeah.
In the
Buster Blue.
The live.
I'll send you this one.
Please do. Bless.
Okay,
sorry.
The trial.
Yes, the trial. Okay. Okay, so Norma testifies. Then Mary testifies, and her testimony. Thank you. I was like, her testification. Her testimony lasted, I think, like 9 hours, and she was like, she had to take a break because she like broke down crying and all this stuff. So she denies everything Norma said. She also said that the reason that they had gone to Martin's house and asked to see him, even though they knew he was dead, was because they were just daring each other to do it. She claims that Norma was the one who strangled Brian and that she had tried to stop Norma and was not able to. She even gave the detail that she could see Norma's fingers turning white with the exertion, which is a creepy...
Mm-hmm. I think she could see her own hands.
Yeah, it's just like, ugh, what a cold detail to like...
I saw her white knuckling that kid's neck.
Fuck off. Ugh.
Chills.
I know. Ugh. So Norma's mother also testified and said that they had caught Mary trying to strangle their younger daughter, Susan, and that she only stopped when Norma's father came in and like punched her like in the arm, not like in the face. Yeah. It would have been very funny if she had been
totally deserved it too.
I know, but this all happened like before Brian's death, and I'm like, why are you letting Norma continue to hang out with this child?
That's what I want to know.
Who just like happens to be caught trying to strangle kids on multiple occasions. And so don't let Critter have friends. except for
Tolly
and my kid. And the dogs. And Steven the squirrel.
Steven.
And Funkle Jarek can probably be right. Okay. Child psychologist Ian Fraser testified that Norma's mental age was closer to 8 or 9 than it was to 13. And on December 17th, after only 3.5 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict. Norma was acquitted of all charges brought against her. Mary was found guilty of manslaughter. She was found not guilty of murder. And they find her guilty of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. The judge described her as being a very grave risk to other children and stated that, quote, steps must be taken to protect the public from her. Mm-hmm. So she was sentenced to be detained, quote, at Her Majesty's pleasure. Which I looked this up, and I think this is a fucking awesome system. And please, British people, correct me if I'm wrong. This is just a term that is exactly what it sounds. Like, you're being sentenced to an indeterminate amount of time until we decide that you're better. And I'm like, and I think it's used a lot with kids because they're like, well, you can't sentence a kid to, like, life in prison. Right. But, like, they periodically review the person and, like...
kind of like a parole board thing.
Yeah. But it's like, you're going to be incarcerated until we feel that you are reformed. Yeah. Which is literally what prison is supposed to be for.
I was about to say, which is hopefully they're actually doing some sort of rehabilitation in prison. Yeah. Or in juvenile prison. Yeah. Because, like, you need it no matter what. Yeah. But...
especially a kid.
Like, that is the prime time to, like, if you've only got so much money to funnel into, like... yeah. Rehabilitation programs for prison, do it for the kids.
Yeah.
Like, so that they're likely not going to be in the big people prison eventually.
Yeah, exactly. And this is another, like, it's like, okay, she had a really fucked up childhood. She was being severely abused. Like, she obviously had a really fucked up, like, psyche and understanding of the world.
She's a product of her environment, yes.
Yes.
But she's also her own person, should be held accountable for her actions.
Yeah. So I included this little excerpt, which happened, I couldn't tell if it happened after she was actually, like, imprisoned because of her sentence, or if it happened while she was being held, like, before trial or during trial. But this is a quote. While tightly grabbing a stray cat by the neck, a guard told her not to hurt the cat. Mary allegedly replied, "Oh, she doesn't feel that. And anyway, I like hurting things that can't fight back." So, this is kind of given as an example of, like...
this makes me wonder what was done to her.
Yeah, and, like, okay, if she really thinks, like, that this cat is not going to feel it when I'm, like, grabbing it by the neck, then, like, okay, I get maybe she has a messed up sense of, like...
well, I think that goes back to her psychopathic tendencies. Like, not recognizing that other things feel pain.
Yeah. And then also, when she said, I like hurting things that can't fight back, this was pointed out on the episode, but it does make sense if she was in a helpless position and being hurt by people bigger than her and in power, and she felt like she couldn't hurt back. One way of acting out is to no longer be the person who's helpless and can't fight back, but you're now the person who's inflicting the pain.
Well, that kind of goes back to the statement that I made at the beginning about how a large portion of, like, child abusers were actually abused as children themselves. Yeah. And so, like, she's being, you know, or just bullies in general, too. A lot of bullies are bullies because they have been bullied, and they're just turning it around. Yeah. So, like, she's, you know, I guess coping with being a victim by being a perpetrator.
Yeah, by making sure she's not the victim anymore. Yeah. And her way of doing that is making other people the victim. Yeah. Again, not an excuse, just... Okay. So, over the course of the next 7 years, Mary is transferred to several different prisons, and she eventually ends up in Moore Court Open Prison, which, do you know what open prisons are?
That's where they don't have the walls and everything, mm-hmm. So, like, if inmates want to, like, run away, they can, but, like, right. It's kind of a pain in the ass, and it's just, like, a much more, like, open, freeform thing, but... aren't they more focused on the focused on the rehabilitation?
Yeah, they're, like, able to work. Mm-hmm. Like, one of the things I think is that they can have jobs. They just kind of have to be supervised.
I think I watched a movie once about one of these prisons for adults mm-hmm. that I guess one person / a group of people started getting really into gardening and, like, landscape design and mm-hmm. stuff, and... they were able to actually enter into this competition. And, like,
that's awesome.
Like, the main conflict of the thing was, like, normally it's all these snooty rich people who are part of this competition, and, like, we wouldn't be able to let the prisoners go to the thing. And, like, it was a whole big hullabaloo, and... but, yeah, I remember watching that years ago, and it was a good movie, and I think it was based on a true story.
Yeah.
Anyway... But that's how I know about these open prison things.
Yes. So she eventually ends up in an open prison. And in September of 1977, she leaves. She just walks off. I put she escaped, but I put it in quotation marks because I was like, she just left. She spent several days in Blackpool with some boys. And when she was found, after a couple days, they found that she had dyed her hair blonde. Obviously, she was trying to disguise herself. She was mm-hmm. using a different name. But she was rearrested. She was brought back to the prison, and she had a penalty where, like, her privileges were revoked mm-hmm. for a certain amount of time.
She was grounded.
Yeah. She wasn't allowed to leave anymore. And then in May of 1980, she was released from prison. They found that she had reformed or whatever. And upon her release, she was granted anonymity, which means she got to change her name and, I don't know, given a new background or whatever. And then 4 years later, she gave birth to a daughter who was also granted anonymity. And her daughter didn't learn anything about her mother's past until 1998, when reporters discovered their location and they had to be moved. It's interesting, like, Martin's mom talks about, like, just not the unfairness, but, like, she's like, I had a child and I didn't get to see him live past 4.
Yeah, well, I lost my child mm-hmm. and, sure, she spent several years in prison, but now she gets to live she gets to live free, first of all.
Yeah.
And with a new name and... basically without her past or like without any other consequences. Like, I have to spend every single day of my life, mourning the loss of my child, remembering my kid, and she gets to do a do-over. She doesn't have to live with any kind of guilt or repercussions or anything. And she gets to just escape into a new life. Like, it never happened.
Yeah. And I think she also said, like, I hope every time she looks at her child, she remembers what she did to mine. Which... Fair, yeah. Mary collaborated, so that same year in 1998, Mary collaborated with an author named Gita Sarani to write a biography in which she details the abuse that she suffered as a child. And Mary and her daughter and her granddaughter, she has a granddaughter now, all of them continue to live under protected anonymity. And according to that author, Gita, Mary has never claimed that she was wrongfully convicted, and she has admitted that her own abuse didn't excuse the crimes that she committed. But...
So it sounds like she's remorseful?
Yeah.
Without actually saying that she's remorseful?
Yeah, and I don't know. I didn't read the book in a week. But... it sounds like, obviously, they saw fit to grant her anonymity. There was a quote from someone that said, like, she just wants a chance to live her life and to not be bothered, which...
Well, that's one of the things about, like, the Ban the Box campaign mm-hmm. comes to mind, where, job applications, they've all got that. Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
Yeah.
And if you ever check yes, your application just goes straight in the bin.
Yeah.
And so it makes it almost impossible to find a job after prison. And so your only options left are crime.
Yeah.
To where you get arrested and thrown back in jail again.
Yeah.
And so, you're not actually even being given a proper chance. Like, okay, you commit a crime, you're remorseful, you go to prison, you do your time, like you pay your debt to society or whatever.
Yeah.
But you never fucking do. It's never paid.
Yeah.
Because nobody gives you a chance to start over.
Yeah.
Like, you did a bad thing and you were never, ever, ever given a second chance. You're never forgiven.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Yeah. And I think because she was so young, I mean, I don't know, every case is different, but like, she was 10 and 11 when she committed these crimes. She did display like evidence that she didn't quite understand what inflicting pain on another person was. She was severely abused. And in that show, someone said like, like everything about how she was processed or whatever makes sense. What doesn't make sense is why her mother wasn't also arrested and in jail for the rest of her life, because
she's what created.
Yeah.
She's what made Mary who she was as a child.
Exactly. And like, I think 100% of the blame also needs to go on Betty, whatever her name was.
But at the same time, I mean, how many other siblings did Mary have, and how many of them ended up as murderers?
Yeah, and I want to say she had 3 other siblings. As far as I'm aware, none of them were murderers. But it's just, I don't know. It's a rough case. It's like one
again, like we said earlier, there's some kind of innate, character in some people who are allowed to overcome and thrive despite their trauma, whereas some are created and formed by their trauma, like Mary obviously was. Yeah. She also had psychopathic tendencies, which again, just because you're a psychopath doesn't actually mean you're going to go on like a murdering rampage. Yeah.
Well, as far as anyone can tell, her nor her daughter nor her granddaughter have murdered anyone. So
excellent.
This was one of the, remember how I sometimes pick topics and then like I don't read all the way through and I'm like, yes, this is what I'm going with, and then I'm already committed when I get to some of the stuff. This was one of those. And this
apology accepted.
Okay. Yeah, it's just sometimes
I had to get Steven out for this one. Like, that's how bad it was.
I know. So, and I thought about like, I didn't know that you were back on, like, are you back on liquor? Have you started drinking liquor yet? No. Okay. I mean, because we do have whiskey. I could have offered that to you, but last time you said no. So
yeah, no.
I did give you brownies.
I ate all of the brownies.
And it's totally fine because I'm going to make more.
That's when you said you were making more, I was like, I'll have another one. And then I'm like, we're talking about child, like 3 and 4-year-old children, little boys too.
I know, I'm sorry.
I was like, you know what? No, I mean, all the brownies. All 3 of them.
So anyways, thank you if you listened.
And I told you I was in a mood.
I know, I'm sorry. You told me that after I'd written the episode. I can't do anything about that. I have to go decorate a cake and make it look like a tombstone after this. Hold on, let me explain. No, for a 50-year-old man as a funny birthday prank. It's for Dr. Boss. He turns 50 this week, and so I'm making him a cake, and we're doing a little celebration tomorrow. And we're poking fun at him because he's 50. But there's going to be cake bones left over for Jared to eat, so. Okay. All right, I'm sorry. Go home and hug your child.
I am going straight home to hug my child for like an hour straight. Actually, he won't let me. Like, he snuggles, but not a lot.
Just wants to stand and look.
He does. He wants to, like, because I'll hold him and he'll kind of like push off of me and like look around. He just wants to see what's going on. Like, that's why he's so good at head control, is because he's so curious about the world around him.
Is there anything more hurtful than when your child or like your dog does that thing where they just like, just like push away from you with their entire body?
Yeah.
Rude. Okay, well, will you please tell everyone our socials?
No, you don't deserve anything.
I don't know our socials. I can't do it.
All right. Well, if you'd like to see the pictures of the creepy notes and the even creepier child, you can follow us on Instagram at The Tales We Tell Podcast. Sometimes we put cute things on there like my critter to make up for the sad. If you want to see these pictures but don't do the social media, you can always check out our website, thetaleswetellpodcast.com. And if you want to support us, get yourself some sweet, sweet swag, you can go to redbubble.com, search The Tales We Tell. And if you want to support us without the stuff, but maybe some love notes and stickers on our undying love and appreciation, you can become a patron at patreon.com. Search The Tales We Tell.
Yay! Okay, thanks, everyone.
We're going to have a better episode next week.
I promise I'll make it better next week. I don't know what it will be, but I'll figure it out. And so
go hug your kids, hug your friends' kids, your pets, whatever.
I know, I'm kind of worried
your
that
fur children.
I'm going to have my critter privileges revoked. So anyways, yeah, go hug your pets and your animals and your loved ones. Mm-hmm. And I promise I'll do something nice next week. Okay. See you guys then. Bye. Bye.